Today I have a few budget-friendly DIYs for you that would fit perfectly into your early fall decor. Welcome to the Chic Show. I have almost reached 2,500 subscribers, and so I would love it if you have not subscribed, if you would go ahead and do so, because I am going to have a giveaway when I reach that 2,500 mark. Today is the What Would You Make Challenge, hosted by Rustic and Lace DIY and Divine Design, co-hosted by Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots. Be sure and check out their channels in the description box along with the playlist. For this project, I thrifted this wood calendar, and it didn't have any of the letters or numbers with it, but I'm going to give it a coat of Waverly chalk paint and ink to begin with. Now, because this didn't have any letters or numbers with it, I had to get a little bit creative. So I'm using some of these Scrabble tiles that I actually thrifted. You can find these also at Dollar General in a package, but I put mine on here for the days of the week at the top. And because there are no numbers in the Scrabble game, I'm having to make my own numbers. Before I do that, I'm going to stain this little clothespin to match the shade of the thrifted Scrabble pieces because they were older, so they had a different shade. I used the back side of some of these Scrabble pieces and some clear stamps to stamp on numbers. These are numbers from the Apothecary Labels stamps from IOD, and I'm just simply going to stamp the numbers onto the back of these Scrabble pieces. I haven't quite gotten 31 of them done yet, but here's a look at the beginning. I included that little clothespin at the top so that you could put a card there, or you could print something out with the month on it. These little wood trays I saw at Dollar Tree back around Mother's Day, but they did not last long. I'm using Kissing Booth in DIY paint to paint the entire tray front and back, top and bottom. Because this wood was so dry, I did spritz it with a little bit of water before I started painting. I did give this 2 coats because it did just soak up that paint. I started by painting the bottom, and then I moved on to the sides and then the top. I decided to use this metal fleur-de-lis that I had pulled off of another picture frame, and I'm using some gold rub and buff on that. Now I'm going to use some Tite Bond, and I'm going to glue that to the center of my tray. I really should have waited until after the next step to do this, but I wasn't sure how the glue would adhere if I had done that. So here I have glued it in place, and DIY paint does dry a little bit lighter than it will look once it is sealed. This, of course, is flat, so I'm using some Quick and Thick that's really shiny. I really like it for certain projects, and I'm going to go over the entire wood part of the frame. Also, just to note, DIY paint is a clay-based paint, so it does need to be sealed. Otherwise, it can be reactivated if it gets wet. So I did seal this, of course, with this triple thick. And you can see how the color comes to life once it's sealed. And here's a look at the final project. This IOD mold is from the spring release, and it's called Invitation Only. I'm also going to be using one of these wood plaques from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to give it a coat of black chalk paint. I used resin for the mold, and once I have that hardened, I'm going to give it a coat of the same black chalk paint. Once the paint has dried, I'm going to be using this little brush. It's actually a makeup brush from Dollar Tree, and some gold rub and buff, and I'm just going to rub that gently over the dog that I chose to use, and I'm not going to get in all of the nooks and crannies. I want some of that black to show all the details. I thought this looked a little bit plain, so I decided to use a little bit of rub and buff along the edges of the wood plaque. Now I'm going to richen up the tone of that black color using some black wax. I also used the black wax to kind of tone down the gold around the edges. I used a paper towel to go back and wipe away any excess wax before I moved on to the next step. Lost some footage of the next step, of course, but I used some of the etiquette stamps from IOD's summer release, and I used a white ink pad just to stamp around the dog. I really like the dark and moody academia look that this piece gives off. Just a reminder to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so we can get this giveaway show on the road. Don't forget to check the playlist in the description box below along with our wonderful hosts. Here's some other videos I think you might like. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to share the chic. Bye now.